So we've put together this wonderful webinar program for you this week. This is the Macmillan Education MENA Winter Webinars. It's running from the 20th to the 23rd, and we have got 6 very talented educators, teachers, teacher trainers, educators from right here in the Middle East and North Africa. And we're going to get right underway, I think. So today, day 1, we have Nour, who I can see on the screen here. Hopefully you can all see her as well. She's going to be our first speaker. And then in about an hour, we're going to welcome Yahya to the stage. And they're both going to be talking about, of course, the hottest topic of, well, I was going to say 2025, but 2024 as well, probably. All the conferences I'm going, all the events I'm attending, they are all definitely keen to learn about AI tools, adaptive learning, personalizing learning, using technology and digital tools to enhance the learning, and we're going to see today, assessment of our students. First question everybody's going to put in the Q&A is there a certificate for this event? Of course, there's always a certificate for attending Macmillan Education events. I've made it a cool blue because it's winter webinars. So we've changed the Macmillan red into a nice cool blue for this event. And you'll be getting them in the next couple of days, probably early next week once all the webinars have done and I've downloaded all the data. I will send out a follow-up email with the slides, your certificate of attendance, anything that I think is related to the content of the 3 webinars that might be useful, any free classroom activities I can find that we might have, or signpost you to anything that I think you might be interested in to take your professional development one step further than what we're doing today. So sit tight. Difficult will come next week. Of course, this is brought to you by the MENA PD Academy, our professional development academy. This is obviously what I run, so many of you have probably seen me before. My name is Nathan Waller, for any of you that are new to our academy today. And the academy is Macmillan Education MENA's professional development platform. You can find out more about it by going to the website, which I am going to frantically update over the next few weeks and months, which is menapdacademy.com. Nice and simple. And on there, we've got a few short courses if you want to focus on a particular professional development area, like critical thinking or developing an inclusive classroom. There's a few modules on there, 3 or 4 hours that you can do. And you also have links to things like our YouTube pages or extra support for Macmillan education courses. You can find all of these things on there. And you can connect with other teachers from around the Middle East and North Africa on that platform as well. This is a free to access platform. None of it costs any money. And you can register as a member on the site. And you can also subscribe every month-ish. I send out a newsletter with all of the activities that both we're doing in the Middle East and North Africa, but also that Macmillan Education Central are running as well. So this is our support for teachers in the Middle East and North Africa. And talking about central activities, global activities, the bigger Macmillan Education brand, we have, of course, our Global Teachers Festival coming up on the 10th of February. It runs over 2 full weeks. I'm not going to spend too much time talking about it now. In the break, in the middle of these 2 sessions, I will show you some of the sessions so you can get a flavor of what's going on in the Global Teachers Festival. But it's an absolutely massive festival. Thousands and thousands of teachers from across the world come and visit us every single year. Again, it's completely free. And there are a whole variety of different topics and activities going on in that festival. So I will share in the chat box in a moment the link so you can go and investigate and register for that as well. So you've got this week for professional development, and then you've got 2 weeks in February. So loads and loads of things going on before Ramadan comes our way. So I can see Nour waiting eagerly to get going. So I'm going to welcome her to the stage. She's here with us. Let me find 1 second. I'm going to introduce you. So Nour is an ELT leader with over 20 years of experience in teaching, training, and program development. She's the head of the English Language Center at Jeddah International College, and she's a CELTA tutor. She's got an MA in TESOL and Cambridge Delta, and she specializes in skills development and consulting in the Gulf region. Noor, it's such a pleasure to have you. We met a couple of months ago, and it's been really nice to get to know you. We found out that we might be in the same place at the same time next week if we're able to both go to Riyadh. So I hope I get to see you next week face to face. But in the meantime, I'm really happy to have you here with us. It's an absolute pleasure. I don't know if you want to say a few words to introduce yourself to the crowd.
Thank you so much for the introduction, Nathan. I just want to welcome everyone. I'm always glad to see people investing their time in their professional development. So I'm really happy everyone is here and I'm excited to start.
Amazing. So the first session is going to be about AI to rescue. So we're looking at optimizing or enhancing. I can't remember which word you used. Like, did I change that to optimizing? I can't remember. But we're looking at assessment and feedback and how AI and adaptive tools are going to help us to develop this so that it helps our students to progress in the best possible way. So I'm going to stop screen sharing. Nor a couple of things from me. I will monitor the chat box, but please feel free to interact as much as you wish. There's a Q&A. If anybody has a question, a kind of overarching question, an umbrella question, please put it into the Q&A because the chat will move quite quickly and it might get lost. Put it into the Q&A, and if I answer it, I will. And if it's one for Noor, we can address some questions at the end. I will stop screen sharing. Noor, I will pass the baton over to you. Enjoy your session, and if you have anything you need, I'm here in the background, ready to help.
Thank you so much, Nathan. Thank you. All right, everyone. Thank you so much, Nathan. Thank you.
All right.
All right, everyone. Welcome to our webinar today. I'm really happy to see you all. AI to the rescue. So definitely AI is a great tool to help us or rescue us when we have no time or we need extra support. So today I hopefully can help you do that in your own feedback and assessment.
No worries. Is it possible to make the screen a little bit bigger?
Oh,
Is that
oh yeah. Is that okay now?
yeah, better. Yeah,
All
perfect.
right.
Thank you.
Okay. So, what are we focusing on today? AI in assessment, understanding AI potential in formative and summative assessments, actionable feedback, learn how to leverage AI tools to provide effective feedback, and then practical application. I'll show you some tricks and prompts that you could use for your AI in your AI tools. Now, let's do a little poll. I have a question here for you guys. Have you ever used a chatbot or AI tool in assessment and feedback? So I'd love to see your answers. If you could share. I'll also share the link to this in the chat. Just a second. Oh. So if you could scan the code and then join. I'll also share the link in the chat. You can also, if you'd like, either answer on the screen or in the chat. You can write 1, 2, or 3 in the chat if you'd like. There we go. Great. So we'll benefit from each other today. I see a lot of you using it in assessment, some in, only a few in feedback. Okay. Okay, I'll leave that there. We'll come back to it in a minute. So, great. Let's see how. First, do I really need to use
If
AI?
you're not engaging,
Oops, sorry. Do I really need to use AI in assessment and feedback, or in my job in general? Let's take a look at this video.
AI actively
Just have
and
it.
aggressively, you're doing it wrong. You're not going to lose your job to AI. You're going to lose your job to somebody who uses AI. Your company is not going to go out of business because of AI. Your company is going to go out of business because another company used AI. There's no question about that. And so you have to engage AI as quickly as possible. If you're not,
So, do you guys agree or disagree? Do you think is is AI going to replace us? I don't think so. But someone who knows how to use AI might. So, do you agree or disagree? Let's see your answers in the chat. Hmm. Okay. So AI definitely won't replace us as teachers, but we need to know how to use it and optimize our work. So let's talk about assessment for a second. Assessment aims to help us gather valuable proof of the capabilities and knowledge of the person being assessed. So they really help us know if our students are able to move on to the next level, or they're able to do some certain skills or have certain knowledge. So we really need assessment in our classes. Now, why use AI in ESL assessment? First, the relevance. It personalizes learning, and I'm going to show you how you can personalize your assessment in a minute. It automates your assessments, and it provides immediate feedback. It also improves teacher efficiency and student engagement. The time you spend on designing assessments can be used in other activities and giving feedback and having one-to-one with your students, and maybe creating or being more creative than just typing away or going, doing the mundane work. Now, assessment purpose. It ensures objective, reliable assessment and evaluating grammar, pronunciation, fluency, so many things. And it helps you tailor your instructions. So let's say you've noticed common mistakes that your mistakes into activities that you can use in class to just address those issues. It also highlights students' strengths and weaknesses promptly. It is so quick in highlighting, and I'm going to show you later how. Now, these are some chatbots that are popular. ChatGPT is known for its flexible and diverse tasks, and also it's a very strong writer. Claude 3 is best for longer and complex texts, while Gemini it excels in real-time interaction. It also is more updated than the others because it's linked to the internet, and it gets updated information. So it's more accurate that way. Now, can you guess the one on the left? Is it formative or summative assessment? The definition is under it. Let's see in the chat. So the one on the left, is this for summative or formative assessment? Which means the other one is formative? Let's see. Very good, everyone. So in summative assessment, we evaluate final learning outcomes. Often, like for a certification or like to check proficiency, like IELTS test and stuff like that. So it's like at the end. While formative assessment, it helps me inform my instruction. How do I move on? What do I do next? What are the gaps in learning? That's formative assessment. Now, how does AI help in those? Let's see. Now, so how do I incorporate AI into those? AI-powered feedback tools. There are so many feedback tools that you can use, like Grammarly, Write and Improve, ChatGPT. It gives you like real-time feedback on writing and helps on how to help students improve. There are also adaptive quizzes that I'm sure you guys are familiar with, like Socrative, Quizlet, Kahoot, that you can use to check in the class, how students are doing. You can assign homework. You can also use it after you give a certain piece of information and you want to check if students got the point. Also, there's speech recognition for pronunciation practice, where students can use something like Happy Scribe, and I'm going to show you examples of that. AI analytics in learning. It also helps you like Edmodo and Blackboard, where you can also upload students' results. Automated and easy scoring. Tools like Turnitin, it gives you, I don't know if you guys are familiar with it, but it gives you like the percentage of plagiarism in a paper, or let's say ETS E-Rater. It also can show you, how well a student is doing with essay writing. AI standardized testing. Adaptive tests like LinguaSkill and Duolingo. Those tests are really helpful because, if a student answers a correct answer, it makes the question harder to help you determine the level. So if a student answers the question right, the exam gets more difficult. If the student makes mistakes, the exam gets easier to determine the level. So these are adaptive tests. And then the last one is creating rubrics with AI using tools like RubyStar and ChatGPT. They are very helpful in creating rubrics for writing and speaking. Now, are they reliable and valid? Definitely, because they give you standardized scoring. So the scoring is not it's not subjective. Automated feedback and immediate adaptive questions. It helps you change the questions according to the level or group or interest. 24/7 functionality. It's reliable. You can use it anytime and anywhere. Valid because it aligns with your objectives. It also have comprehensive skills. It can test critical thinking, oral proficiency, writing proficiency. It also gives you data insights. It identifies trends. You can see which questions, let's say if you use Kahoot or Quizlet, you can see which questions the students are not doing well in. I think it was called quizzes, yes. Quizzes, it can show you what question the students are not doing well in, so that you can modify or work on that point further in your class. It reduces bias. For example, when I moved to using standardized testing and AI adaptive tests, the arguments with the students about their level really was minimum, because I'm not the one making the questions, it's AI. I'm not the one marking the questions, it's AI. And the results are accurate and they have no subjectivity in them. Now, it's also personalized. It's personalized testing because it adapts to your group, what context that you give it. So what interests your students. So the questions can be personalized easily. We'll see examples in a minute. Now, take a minute and try to fill in the blanks when you're describing feedback. What adjectives can you use to say that? What kind of feedback helps improve learners' awareness? What should feedback be like to help learners? Nice, Mini. Constructive. Anyone else? So constructive feedback helps improve learners. Precise. I like how a lot of people are saying constructive, encouraging. Yes. We always focus on, like, I'm not going to generalize, but we tend to focus on the errors so that we want our students to improve. But it's also really important to be encouraging and focus on what's positive in their writing and speaking. Timely, nice, smart. Any more? So there are so many. Very good. Thank you. Supportive, precise, accurate. Clear, very good. Fair. Those are really good adjectives, everyone. Nice. Okay, let's see the answers. Constructive, corrective, and positive. So you guys got most of the answer right. Also, at the end, it's specific, actionable, and timely. Let's see what we mean by those. So constructive, we need to provide suggestions for improvement. It's not just, these are the mistakes, but maybe give suggestions and be helpful in guiding students on how to improve. Corrective, you identify and explain the errors. Positive reinforces strengths and progress. So not just the weaknesses, but the strengths as well. Specific, which means it provides concrete examples and details. Actionable, offers clear steps and suggestions. Timely, delivered promptly. Now, as teachers, and some of you I know, you might have like 30 students in your classes. How can I do all that in a timely manner? There's no way I can do all these steps, right? It's a lot of work. Let's be honest, it's not enough time to do all of that. So how can we do all of that in a short time? We'll see. Now, the most important thing when I'm using, today I'm going to show you how to use chatbots to give feedback. AI is key. Very good, Hamza. Yes. The most important thing to do, guys, is prompt engineering, which is to follow specific tips to give you the results you need. So you need to be clear with the chatbot. I'm going to use ChatGPT because I'm comfortable with it, but there are other options. So you need to be very clear with ChatGPT. You need to be specific in your prompt. The context needs to be clear. So what is this feedback for? What level are the students? What is the focus of the course or lesson or assessment? And then complexity. Try to use multiple steps prompts, and I'll show you how. Like I'll give it step 1 and then step 2. So let's see an example of, just a second. So we'll see an example of how to, first, I know like here it says 1, create assessment, but I want to show you first an example of how to provide feedback, demonstrate AI feedback on a sample of students' essay and speech. Let's start with speaking. Where I work, we sometimes ask students to send us voice notes or record a certain topic and send it to us. So as an assignment or maybe like an assessment. So what you can do, guys, is there are websites where they can transcribe the audio in seconds. Like this one, it's called TurboScribe. From the name, it's really turbo and really fast. So if I upload an audio, it transcribes it immediately. And there's also HappyScribe. This is another one. It's called HappyScribe. So those two are really useful in transcribing our audios. So let's see. This is what you can do is, just a second. So I click on transcribe file. I drop it here. It takes maybe 5 seconds, maybe like 1 minute if your internet is slow. And then it gives you this, the transcription of what the student said. I copy it. Okay. And then I go to my assistant, ChatGPT. Okay. I have a prompt that I want to show you. So here's what I tell ChatGPT to do. Okay. So this is an audio recording. transcription of a speaking test for one of my A1 ESL students. So here I'm providing context and I'm trying to be specific. I would like you to give him encouraging feedback, but I also want to highlight the strengths and weaknesses to help him improve. Give a grade using the following rubric. And I added the rubric. Now, look at the last sentence. Simplify the feedback because he's an A1 student. And of course, I want when I want my student to read my feedback, I want them to understand it. So I'll take the transcription of what he said. Here's Muhammad's speech. I posted it. So here's the whole thing. Now, let's see the magic happen. So here's his grade. And here's the feedback with emojis. So I can understand you very well, and your sentences are clear and confident. I like how you talked about football, your favorite food, and your dog, Max. You sound happy, and this is great. So here's the constructive and positive feedback. Now, try to make your sentences complete, for example, and then it highlighted the mistakes, and there's an encouraging statement at the end. Now, this is step 1. You can add a step 2. This is my favorite part. Highlight all the grammatical mistakes and create an editing quiz with an answer key. Ooh, let's see. Look at that, you guys. You have a quiz with the students' mistakes, personalized, and they can just take it as a homework. Follow-up quiz, formative assessment, an actionable activity that they can actually work on from their mistakes. You can also, if you have a class of 10, gather all the mistakes, give it to ChatGPT and say, create a quiz with those mistakes so that it's for the whole class, not just one student. So whether you want to do individualized follow-up or just one by one, or a group work. If you have more than 30, that's actually saves a lot of time because let's face it, I'll tell you, like in where I work, they might have 22 students in their class. So imagine listening to 22 audios. That's, I don't know, like that's tough, you know? So if you just drop them there, 2 seconds, maximum 1 minute to transcribe using Happy Scribe. And it took 2 seconds for ChatGPT to give me the result of the student, copy paste, and upload it on Moodle or wherever you communicate with your students. Okay, now this is for speaking. Now I want to show you for writing, but this one for writing, you can either copy the writing if the student typed it or take a picture, but I'm not sure if the picture is for in the free one. If you guys know where like a chat bot that you can upload pictures for free, please type it in the chat, but I'll show you now for one for writing. So here's my prompt for writing. The level of the student is also A1, okay? I would like to give him encouraging feedback, blah, 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 and you have your rubric. Now all you need to do is drop in their writing. So I took a picture of it with my mobile, okay? Because I didn't want to type it, saving time. So just a second. So that's why I called this webinar AI to the rescue, because it really helps us save time, you guys. There you go, writing test. I uploaded an image of the writing. Handwriting is horrible, but you know, let's take a look what it does. Okay, now see how long and detailed this is? Maybe I don't want to do that. So what I forgot this time is to say simplify the feedback because he is an A1 student. There you go. See, it's nice and cute and short for the student to read. You can edit if you'd like, if you feel like this is a bit complicated. And then it also gave you the grade, you know. It's so quick in giving you the grade. It's give you a detailed, you can delete those 2 points and just give him 1, 2, 3, 4 with the mark. So this is a lot of time-saving techniques for you guys. Now, let's take a look at assessment. So this is feedback on writing and speaking. Saves a lot of time. Now, let's take a look at creating quizzes and assessments. As I said, prompt engineering, the prompt you give ChatGPT, the more detailed, the more you have a context, the better the result. So if you prepare, and it's like trial error thing, you know, you give instructions, it doesn't work, you add more details, it works better. Let's see a reading quiz. You know how you guys, sometimes it's really difficult to find passages or listening or activities like that for your students. Look at this. So I'm teaching a student to find main ideas and details in a short reading passage, create an A1. I'm always using A1 because we have a lot of A1 students. Reading passage. Let's see. I have a reading passage. In how many seconds? With questions. There will be an answer key. If I'd like, you can add, like, I want more questions. I want more details questions. I want true and false. So you can add more instructions. Now, look at the context here. Lena loves to go to the park. She goes there every Saturday. This is nice for children. What if you have adult students? So my prompt is missing something. I need to add it. So I will say, this is an adult student. Look at the prompt. Now look at the reading passage. Maybe I should have said like edit, but anyways. So instead of talking about a day in the park, at the park for Lena, now it's about a visit to the market. And there you go, the content changed. So now I'm changing it. It's this is an adult student in an English or business class. It's sometimes difficult to find passages, so this is especially for A1. So this is something, you know, that can help you. We'll give it a second to process the information. See, the whole content changed. A meeting at the office. So this is for reading, you guys. Okay. Now, what if I need it for listening? I'll just copy the text that ChatGPT created, and then I will go to something called free text to speech. I need a listening passage. Okay. So I'll just paste the lovely passage that I had earlier. And then I'll choose George. I like George because George is very clear and slow. Let me see if I'm sharing sound. Just give me a second. Okay. So let's try George. I need to make it a bit shorter because this is my free account. Okay. Now listen to this, you guys. Just a second.
Every Friday morning, Amal goes to the market. She likes to buy fresh fruits and vegetables for the week. The market is very busy, but Amal enjoys the noise and the colors. First, she visits the fruit stall. She buys bananas, apples, and sometimes oranges.
This is a website called 11 Labs. Here it is, 11 Labs. There are so many other websites, okay? But I mean, it's, if you guys are having trouble finding material, or you have the material but you want to edit it, shorten it, you have a reading passage and you want to make it a listening passage, just drop it in this AI. And this AI is an amazing tool to help you create listening. Yes, even 11 Labs. Yes, that's the name. Thank you, guys. Okay, back to ChatGPT. Do we have time? Yeah, maybe 5 minutes. Okay. Now, what about vocabulary and quizzes? Sorry, vocabulary and grammar quizzes. Yeah. So, just the last thing I'll show you. This is a prompt for vocabulary. So I wrote, I'm teaching an A2 English class, and I would like to give them a quiz using the following vocabulary words, okay? And then just add, please, to be nice to AI, just in case it controls the world in the future. Now, there you go. Two seconds, you guys. Not even. Let's say it's giving me suggestions. So there's part 1, fill in the blanks. Part 2, match the definitions. Part 3, true or false. You can even ask it to create it into paragraph, into one paragraph, not separate sentences, if you want it like to be in one context. Okay, in seconds, you guys. Let's say your test is out of 10 questions. You can even specify that. The test is out of 10. So I need 10 questions. Yes, clause paragraph. Aisha, thank you. And see, it's the level A2. That's the key, you guys. You need to specify the level. You can also specify the culture in case some of the examples given are inappropriate. You can specify the age group. So let's say this one doesn't really suit young learners, right? Look at this, while driving to work, but luckily, so the students are young learners. You can specify the age if you'd like. Just give it a few seconds. See? You can even specify the context. So you could say the topic is about, and you can say it's going on, and it gives you an answer key, you guys. Just save your time. Okay. So you can specify, so the topic is about let's give it a challenge, pets. Ooh, and I had a spelling mistake, and I'm sure ChatGPT would understand. So the whole context changed because you changed the topic for the vocabulary quiz. So whatever topic you have, you can just incorporate this into it. Now let's okay, there you go. So you have the quiz. If you read the questions, you'll find that the content changed into the content about pets. Okay, now one more quiz to go. So I'm teaching a B1 English class, and I would like to give them a 5-question quiz on using present perfect. This is for grammar. There you go. Different types of questions. You can say, I'd like all the questions to be like question 3. I'd like all the questions to be like question 1. And then you can create whatever you'd like. Okay. So okay. So one more thing, you guys. I want to see if you. Oh, okay. So, what's one specific way you plan to integrate AI tools into your assessment and feedback? You can either share it in the chat or we can share it on Slido if you'd like. We'll take a couple of minutes. Which of the stuff you saw today would you like to try? Just a second. You can type in the chat or here on Slido. So I can see some answers in the chat. My personal favorite is dropping the picture of the writing because I don't even have to type it. It's just there. Just drop a picture. But that part, unfortunately, must be paid on ChatGPT. Like, I don't know if you can. I don't know if there's a limit to how many pictures you can upload. So if you have a large class, that might be an issue. So you can ask students to submit their writing as typed, so then you can just copy paste it from Word or if they type it anywhere else on Google Documents or. And also just to add, the feedback on writing and speaking, it's just so specific and precise, and it gives you positive and also areas to work on in seconds. So that's why it's called AI to the rescue. Okay. Thank you so much for your contributions. Let's see if you guys have any questions.
I'm coming back. Where am I? Oh, there I am. Hi. Noor,
Hi, welcome
thanks so
back.
much. It's such an interesting topic. I'm not by any means an AI or probably even a digital tools expert. I can use them, but I wouldn't call myself an expert on any of these things. So it's really interesting for me to learn more about them, and I'm sure people in the crowd find it interesting as well. I've seen lots of comments of people saying that this is really cool, like this is amazing that you can do this. I certainly think it's great as a tool, as you say, for cutting down that subjectivity. I mean, certainly if I think about, and this is why I'm saying I'm not that amazing with the technological tools because I'm old and not that young. But I think about when I was in school. I mean, I was in school in the 80s. I mean, there was no such thing as these types of tools. And I'm
Mm.
sure a lot of the assessment of my learning not just in obviously in English, but in all subjects, was so subjective. It must have been. I'm sure if I go in my mother's, attic and dig out all of those boxes of report cards and read through them, I'm sure a lot of it just is like half nonsense, just stuff. Yeah, and probably was cut and pasted, but without having the ability to actually cut and paste. I'm sure they had just like 5 or 6 sentences, and they just, this student is this sentence, and this student is this sentence, and a lot of it, like I say, is so subjective. So it's amazing that we have these tools at our disposal now that are easy to use. You can plug stuff in, and it'll give you this really robust, and that's helpful for the student, right? Because they know that you're that it's not about whether you're paying attention to them or whether or not you like them. It's a concrete analysis of their performance of what they've created or what they've produced in terms of the language. So I think that's a really good thing. I liked the fact that you could have used it like this kind of rabbit hole. You can the system can use a student's own work against them and kind of like send them down a rabbit hole using their own what they've produced, which I thought was quite nice. And that could be quite motivating, I think, for students because it's, like you said, it's personal to them. It's what they've done. And of course, I think most of the people who are here would agree that there's so much opportunity to kind of cut down on our workload. Again, we think about the amount of work that teachers have. People were mentioning in the chat box, what happens if I've got 30 students, 40 students, depending on where you are and what location. If you're in a rural area, in some countries, you can have up to 50 students. I've seen them when doing teaching
Yes.
sessions. So handling that quantity of student, and then, like you say, doing all of those different things is such a challenge. So this can definitely help with a lot of that. I think if I was playing devil's advocate, for me, Chat GTP is an amazing tool. I just don't find it very colorful. It's not very fun. It's not very.
Mm.
It's a bit flat.
And I always advise teacher leave your own touch. It's not just if you have the luxury of having smaller numbers, leave your own touch. Not just depend on AI, but add. Your students. AI doesn't. So add a comment that's about them. If you have the luxury of having smaller numbers.
I think that's the key, right? Is
Yes.
making personal, taking the amazing tool and using it in a way that allows you to make the learning and the assessment more personal and more robust for the student. I mean, the most common question, I knew this was going to be the most common question within the entire chat box and across some of the actual Q&As as well, is obviously recommendations for AI tools that teachers can use in class which are free. Now, I'm not going to ask you that question because in the spirit of communal learning, I'm going to move this over, 182 people in the room. So there are 182 probably AI experts in this room.
Yeah.
Anybody who's using a really cool AI tool, I think put that recommendation into the chat box and we can just create a list of them. I don't think we should put the pressure onto Poor Noor to give us a list of apps, because I'm sure between many apps, especially ones that have an element. Of course, we know how the internet works, right? It's designed to give you a taster of something and then hope that you will pay to subscribe to access more features. That's how the internet works. So that's a reality. But if anybody knows anything or you used anything in class which has been particularly useful that's not been mentioned, of course, we've seen Chat GTP. You've got the more well-known things like Duolingo. Please write it into the chat box, and we'll collect that as a list and perhaps share it in the follow-up email. Look, see, people are putting in there already. Put the links, and we'll go and explore them all. Magic School.
Because things are changing so quickly and there are new apps every day. So I really encourage you guys to share with each other as well if you know any free good ones.
So I think maybe this is something we can do with the academy, because it's obviously an open website. So maybe we can put a posting board onto one page, like an AI share site, and people could just upload links on there, and people can go in and it can just be like a communal thing. So maybe I'll work on that page and
That's a lovely idea. Yeah.
yeah, because I think this is the kind of thing that people want. They just want to go to a page and look through, and then we can put there almost like an Excel table, just the name, the link, and then what you can actually do for free, perhaps on that website. We can start putting that together for you guys. that might be quite useful. That's what we're here for. I'm trying to see if there's any. We've got maybe a couple of minutes. Do we have any other questions? Some of these questions are getting answered. So one question was, what are the impacts of artificial intelligence for future education? Well, I think that's going to get answered maybe in the next session. So we don't need to answer that one now. What do you think? Do you think AI is going to for future education? I guess it's going to be. I think.
I mean, I'm sure it's not going to replace us as teachers, but we need to adapt and learn how to optimize it. That's definitely, you know.
Yeah. So you agree with the video at the beginning with this guy that says that you're not going to be replaced by it, but you're going to be replaced by somebody who actually took the time to learn it. Yeah.
Exactly.
There's so many comments in the chat box that I can't even keep up. It's going way too fast. But I will trawl through that at the end because I get the recording. In fact, I won't. I will put it into an AI system and get it to if I'm smart enough to do that, or I'll send it.
To say like summarize the questions, then
Pull out all of the websites and put them into a nice neat table for me. Amazing. I'm glad people have got some good ideas. They've got a bit of food for thought. They've got some tools and maybe some ideas for using AI in different ways. They may have been using it for particular activities. Hopefully now they can start to use it to enhance, especially the feedback. I think that was a real strong message, giving students constructive feedback, but also keeping that positive, encouraging, so that they feel like, okay, like I'm making progress and I want to make progress. Because we haven't touched on it too much in this session, but of course the well-being of our students plays a big role in their ability to move forward, to learn. So
yeah, I'm glad you're bringing that up, and that's why I mentioned the positive feedback, because to be honest, I'll admit at the beginning of my career I used to focus on the weaknesses, and then no, but if you give feedback, it's always important to give, positive feedback as well. What
yeah,
went well with their writing and speaking.
hmm yeah, I was always very keen on that when I was doing teacher training sessions on projects that I did in the past. A lot of that kind of confidence building stuff is just as important as giving them tasks and analyzing those tasks, building up that confidence to try new things and experiment and make mistakes and learn from them is a really key part of your learner's journey. Actually, Nora, I've got one more question for you, actually, because I want to ask a question. This is my own question. There's so many there, I can't digest them. But my own question was actually about students and student attitudes, because for me, I think students are part of the driving force behind changes within education in terms of using technology, bringing in AI, all of these types of things. And this is more of a thinking about your experience, I guess, there in Saudi Arabia, because you're here in the region, but it could be anything you've done across the Gulf as well. I just wondered if you're seeing a shift yet, or whether that's still yet to come in the attitudes of students towards them asking whether we can or we could or we will use AI tools for assessment, maybe, but also for learning. I'm trying to think of whether or not they're starting to demand that we actually use it. And again, this can be a question to anyone in the chat box as well. If you don't use that much digital tools, or you're not using AI that much, are your students starting to push you? Are they starting to say, well, you could use this, or well, why don't we try this to this tool? And they show you things. I wonder whether or not that's a step that we haven't quite got to yet.
That's definitely happening. Well, at the beginning, they're sneaky about it. They think we don't know. But then what we do is actually we give them sessions on how to use AI in learning, but avoiding plagiarism and all of that. So it's like, because it's unavoidable. So you definitely, as an educator, you need to approach your students about, using AI, and it's a great learning tool. So it's not just for teachers for feedback and assessment. They can also give each other peer feedback using AI. They can help each other on projects using AI. But as long as we also teach them how to use it while respecting academic honesty and avoiding plagiarism as well.
Yeah, I guess because that's the kind of AI journey, right? From it not being used and not being known at one end of the spectrum, to being fully embraced by both teacher and student at the other end. And each school or each teacher, each classroom is going to be somewhere on that journey. So, and at some point, there's a tipping point, right, where it tips over, and both teacher and student are both understanding that this is something that can be used positively, and that we respect it as a tool. And it's not, you're not trying to use it to sneakily do something. I'm not trying to use it to trick you. Yeah, there's that understanding. So there's that tipping point, I think. And until you get to that tipping point, you have all of these challenges that I think are kind of thrown at an educational institution, I guess, that kind of level. Is it being used by administrators to, find out things about students? Are students using it to plagiarize, for example? Because these are where all the fears come from, right? But then I
Yes.
get to that point and you tip over and everybody's like, okay, it can be used for this, and we're using it in a positive and constructive way. And then,
Exactly.
okay, good. It's just interesting to see. I'm trying to learn how that is playing out differently, perhaps in different parts of the world across.
So for example, I'll just give a quick example. You could ask students to write directly into Grammarly, and then Grammarly will highlight the mistakes as they go. So they are learning while writing. So it's not just, um, getting the text ready from ChatGPT, but no, you can use AI to help you edit. So it's just like teaching them how to use it, because that's what they'll do out in the world, like in the job market. They're just gonna use those tools. So it's good to learn them at the beginning, but also teach them about, academic honesty as well.
Yeah. Okay. Good. I can share this link. I'm in. Give me 1 second, and I will put it in the chat box. Hopefully, no one else types so that it doesn't vanish down the chat box. Oh, this is the website, and if you go to YouTube and just type into the search bar, Academy Education, me, auto type, one down full. If you type this into YouTube, or add me on LinkedIn, and I'm sure I will direct you to it. There you go. That's me. You can add me on LinkedIn because that's where I'm most active.
Thank you so much.
Nora, thank you so much again. It was an absolute pleasure to have you with us and to learn more about this really, really, really interesting topic.
Thank you so
Everybody's got
much,
so much to
Nathan, and
learn.
thank you everyone for attending. I'll leave the stage to Yahya. So thank you so much.
I will go back to sharing my screen. Here we are. So thank you very much, everybody. I mean, there's such engagement on the chat box going on with that last session. So many interesting ways to look at it and to look at these types of tools. Now we're going to delve into our second session. A couple of quick reminders. If you were a little late at the beginning, no problem. The recording will be available on the YouTube page, and I'll put it onto the website as well. Certificates will go out probably at the beginning of next week. Once I've downloaded all the data from the 3 days of webinars, I will create them and send them out in a follow-up email. We already mentioned the MENA PD Academy, which is our free to access professional development site. And you can go on there and explore at your own leisure, the website. And the last thing is our Global Teachers Festival, which is happening between the 10th and the 21st. I mentioned this very, very quickly at the beginning. You can register for this at macmillanenglish.com/GTF. In fact, I will put that in the chat box as well. macmillanenglish.com/GTF. There you go. So you can go and explore the festival. So this is 2 weeks of, again, free professional development activities. This is by the global team, and there are, well, I mean, there are loads and loads of different sessions covering some of the topics people were asking questions about. Somebody was asking a question about psychology. I think there's something on week 2 about that. So we've got, of course, Ben Crystal and David Crystal. We've had them lots looking into talking. There's conversation things going on. The art of great conversation sounds very interesting. Critical thinking, well-being, learning journeys, looking at grammar, vocabulary development. If we go to week 2, we've got the impact I was mentioning about ChatGPT not being very colorful. What is the impact of color on learning, even in learning a language? Color, visuals, media is really important these days. So the impact of characters. So if we're thinking about young learners, what's the impact of stories, using stories? Again, this is where we're thinking about psychology, how children learn. We've got digital tools, we've got the digital realm, and we're going to finish off by looking at inclusion and focusing on neurodiversity, which of course is becoming a really the other hot topic, I think, of the contemporary classroom, making sure that all of our students are feeling included, being included, and that we're thinking about how different people learn in different ways and making sure we cater to those differences and seeing them as positives rather than negatives. So that's the Global Teachers Festival. You can register for one day, you can register for one session, you can register for the whole thing. The website now is designed that you only have to register once, and then you just choose which days you wish to register for. So you don't have to put your details in for every single day anymore, which is also a good thing. Okay, in terms of Macmillan education, so one of the questions probably on your mind is, well, we've been talking about digital tools and AI. What's happening in the world of Macmillan education in terms of some of these things? We do have an AI chatbot now, which can help you to explore different types of courses that we offer. So if you're teaching young learners, it'll ask you a set of prompts and it'll work its way through. And it'll give you some guidance on helping you to make good decisions. So you don't have to talk to a person. You can now talk to an academic assistant. And they learn all about you by asking questions, and then they will suggest the best thing for you. So you can explore that. That's on macmillanenglish.com. We've, of course, got our digital platform, which is the new Next Generation Me platform. This is where all of our digital content is held, so all of our teachers' resources, presentation tools, additional resources, all of the assessment, online assessment, offline assessment, it's all here in the Me platform. And of course, for our young learners, we have our gamification platform, Navio, which you can also explore as well. So some of our courses have access to gamified learning. So your students create avatars, and they have to complete language tasks to progress through these digital worlds, which is obviously very fun for them. And the last one, which is now hidden from view, but we have a new course called Pivot, which is coming out towards the end of this year, which is for adult learners, and it's a fully online AI-driven English language course. I think it's going to be the first one on the market. I hope so. But it looks super cool. We haven't seen the final version yet, but it's coming out at the end of this year. But it's going to be really interesting to see published material using AI to drive students with personalized learning. Oops. Okay, that was just a few announcements from me. I want to move swiftly onto our second session. Yahya, I see you've arrived. Pleasure to have you with us. How are you doing?
Well, hi, Nathan. Thank you so much for having me today. It's such lovely being here today with you all, and I'm really excited for today's session. And thank you, Nathan, so much for this opportunity.
No, it's an absolute, well, it's a pleasure for me because I've already seen the content, so I know how cool this next session is going to be. So this, for you guys, is going to be looking at adaptive tools to enhance learning experiences. And this is a real, I think, thought-provoking session. It's going to explore challenges, that question that somebody asked, the future of education, what is it going to look like? What are the ethical implications? All of these types of things. So I'm going to pass the floor over to you. And again, I will collect any questions in the Q&A. Maybe we can address some at the end. I think there's going to be a lot of questions for you. Yeah. We'll pick some of the more prominent ones and we'll try and address some at the end if we have time.
Yeah, hopefully.
Good luck to you. I will stop sharing and I will see you in a little while.
Perfect. Thank you. Thank you so much, Nathan. Well, hello, everyone. Hi, Irene, and hi, everyone. Hello. Good evening. It's honestly very lovely being here with you all in today's session. It's such an honor to be trying to express my thoughts and share my thoughts and my opinions, as well as presenting to you the current landscape and the future of technology of education. But without promises, this session is supposed to be a little bit thought-provoking, a little bit high-level. Nour's presentation or session was actually perfect. I was envious of her. She was hands-on, practical. She implemented. She have shown you guys how to use generative AI hands-on in your everyday work. Me, maybe I'll be describing or talking a bit more high-level than hers. So without further ado, let's get to it. I'm gonna share my screen right now, and hopefully, yeah. Do you want to see me while seeing the presentation or just the presentation? You can answer on the chat. I'm a bit of a dictator, and I'm gonna I'm gonna project myself as well. Yep. All right. So hello everyone. So yeah, thank you for joining me today, and I'm thrilled to be here with you with such distinguished group of educators and thought leaders. Can you see the slides? Is it above me?
Yes, you're on top of the slide.
Yeah, all right. So today's session is about education technology navigating tomorrow, and we're going to dive into exciting world of AI and XR. I don't know how many of you knows what XR means, and we're going to delve into that in a bit. Which are mainly artificial intelligence and extended realities, and explore how these technologies are opening doors to personalized, immersive learning experiences like never before. And I'm going to try my best to declutter some of the technical jargon and address some common misconceptions along the way. We'll also be tackling some of the concerns that many of us in the education community share about these crazy, rapid advancements. I want to assure you that this session is not about how can we use new technologies in our educational efforts. However, on the contrary, how these technologies already disrupted education and how can we adapt promptly to that. So it's about the changes that already occurred by these technologies and our need to adapt and quickly. Okay, so who am I to be giving you this session mainly, or how am I qualified? So first of all, my name is Yahya, and I'm an education enthusiast and technologist at heart. My journey in education started as a student, as you can see, and then as a private tutor while I was being actually a college student. And then I became a teacher assistant at one of the most prominent technical universities in Egypt. I gave a TED talk about peer teaching and education, and I'm actually a researcher in EdTech. And finally, I'm now the director of technology strategy at a certain consulting company in Egypt. It's called NI Consulting. But above all else, I see myself as a lifelong learner and tutor, and that's because education isn't just a profession or passion. I see it that it is one of the main pillars that shape the society we live in, and adapting to the advancements that's happening in the technological landscape actually would make us shape the new generation in a way that like never before. Yeah. So the chat objective is, as you can see, without the clutter of jargon, we'll explore how technologies like AI and XR are not just futuristic, but are shaping our learning environments right now. So this chat or this session is an invitation for you to imagine, to question, and discuss the future of education, society, and hence the world. Use the chat room or the chat box as much as you want, and as much as I can, I'll give you a bit of polls and questions for you to interact with me along the session. So think of this session as a high-level introduction. This is me actually in the planning phase of this session. I was kind of anxious about what exactly do I begin the conversation with? How do I do an icebreaker? What are the sections of this topic? And this is, as you can see, this is the planning phase of the conversation. It's all on ChatGPT. I upload a document, I upload images, and it's really, really nice. It's my co-author in everything. It helps me at least declutter my thoughts, brainstorm with me, and everything. So yeah, first of all, scan this code or enter this link. I can give you this link on the chat box as well, and we can have some interactivity within this session. You
Yeah.
can
I
give
think
me
you're
your
gonna
thoughts.
need to share in the
Yes,
there's
the link itself.
yeah, and the code, because where you are on the screen is covering the
Yeah,
bottom.
I'm blocking it. Aren't I?
Yeah.
Yeah, all right.
There you go. We can see it now, actually.
So this is the link. This is the code. Oh, sorry. Again, this is the link. Can you all see the link? And this is the code. English. All right, shouting English.
I hope so.
Yeah. Nobody chose Spanish. It would have been interesting for me to actually be giving the session in Spanish.
Yo puedo. Okay.
Yeah. I do a little bit of Duolingo on the side for Spanish, but I don't consider myself a Spanish speaker at all. All right, if you can see, these are your answers. You're very passionate about English, guys. I don't know what's up, but these are your answers. Yeah, where was it? All right, so mostly all of you are just choosing English. Can you see Mentimeter now? Yeah.
Almost.
Okay, so 35 chose English. All right, perfect. Then this is how we're going to proceed. This is today's content. Today we're going to talk about or discuss the present landscape of technology, whether AI or virtual reality, and we're going to see how we're going to envision the future as well, and the challenges and the ethical considerations, which is a bit time-consuming and a bit polarizing. And I want us to delve into this polarizing topic because I want to know what you think as educators, as more experienced educators than I am, that I can ever be. And I want to see you from different fields, especially in English or language teaching. What do you think of AI? Do you think of it as a threat to the development of students, or is it actually an empowering tool for the teacher, or an empowering tool for both the teacher and the students? All right, so the second question is, who have heard of any of the following terms? And the following terms are the following. I think, can you see? Yeah, it's a bit laggy. However, can you see the next question? You can answer me in the chat. Yeah, all right, perfect. So who have heard of any of the following terms? All right, ChatGPT, AI, ChatGPT. All right, so 6 of us, or 5. All right, so ChatGPT and AI. Only one person have heard of adaptive learning, while most of us have heard time and time again the terms like AI being used interchangeably with other terms, as well as ChatGPT. ChatGPT is the most famous one of them. All right, so the present landscape, of course, comprises of an SMS, a school management system. Yeah, it does not allow for more than one answer. Oh, this question doesn't allow for more than one answer. All right, that's a problem with me. So choose whichever. Yeah, only allowed one response. Yeah, it's my mistake. All right, so the present landscape comprises of SMS and learning management systems. The school management systems are used to actually manage the entity, the educational institute, while the learning management system is the system used for content management. As you can see, resource accessibility, having content uploaded online through videos or additional learning content, PDFs, whichever the format. And these are the present landscape of technologies that's been used currently, and most of us are already familiar with some of those tools. However, delving into AI and talking more into AI, AI has been there for a long time now. It's not new, and it's not, definitely AI is not ChatGPT. AI is a term coined for trying to mimic, or engineering of machines that tries to mimic the cognitive functions of a human being and how the human being processes and actually produces output on their own, not a rule-based code, not an everything else algorithm. It's trying to mimic the real intelligence of a human being. And machine learning, of course, you've heard of it as well, is a subset of AI, and deep learning is a subset of that subset. So AI is the over-encompassing umbrella under which everything, all other terms lie. And why am I telling you this? I'm telling you this because we want to differentiate between AI and generative large language models that we can see here today. So how they work, or machine learning in a nutshell, is that you can present the machine with 1,000 pictures of a cat, for example, and then you give it another picture, let's say the picture 1001, and when you see and ask the model whether or not do they think that this picture belongs to a cat. And then the model have seen 1,000 pictures of cats. It obviously sees pixels, and it obviously sees colors as ones and zeros. However, it saw 1,000 pictures of cats, and it draws some patterns. Some of them are completely wrong, and some of them are completely right. So the machine can define that a cat is something with whiskers, for example, and then we can present it with a picture of a mouse, and it can incorrectly answer that this is a cat, whether it's not a cat, it's a mouse. So this is how machine learning works. So you feed it with a lot of data, and then you train the model on this data, and then you correct the model. So you tell it, no, this was actually a rat, and these are the mice, and this is how it learns. It learns patterns. So, and this is the core behind any large language model such as ChatGPT. So I guess the more it sees, the better it can answer it precisely. So this is actually the core of ChatGPT. So the more it sees, the more data that it's been fed, the better the performance of this model is. So if you've given it 1 million pictures of a cat, it can precisely detect what is and what is not a cat. And this is behind any AI that you can see today. So even ChatGPT is all about predicting what you might want to see. So for now, there are a lot of debates about whether or not ChatGPT is AI. Is it conscious? Is it not? Can it think? Can it not think properly? But one thing for sure, it is that it is probabilistic. It has been given and fed billions and billions of texts, images, and data, and it can now know what should come next to what. So what should precede I love? So I love you, I love pizza. It's predictive as much. I know this is a bit technical, and this technical would go out of the way in a bit, but all I want you to understand is that AI is predictive. It predicts the next outcome rather than it reasons with it. And this is actually how I planned the session. And this is actually another recording of how I used ChatGPT in order for me to do the literature review of my master's research and to distill information and filter papers. So mainly how I used AI was that I uploaded a bunch of PDFs, and I've pre-written 50 questions to those PDFs to distill the answers that I needed of those PDFs. And now I can have this matrix of answers that I used instead of reading hundreds of literature to conduct my research. And all of the pictures, including these ones that you'll see in the presentation, are also generated by AI. And these are the prompts that I've given the AI model that produces those images. And there are hundreds of tools now and tens of models that produces images such as Midjourney, Gemini, Firefly, which is Adobe, OpenAI, of course, DALL-E. So drop a comment or in the chat, tell us, have you ever tried text to image tools or not? And what is your favorite one? I think a bunch are for free. So I think Bing Chat had it for free. ChatGPT also offers this functionality for free. Yeah, we used to do the same before. Yeah. So this is actually how I've built this entire presentation. I've thought of it using AI. I've written the content using AI. I even used AI to help me write these prompts. So I didn't write them all by myself. I'm not a perfect prompt engineer. However, by trial and error, I perfected this skill. So it is not at all hard. Canva. Actually, I'm building this entire presentation on Canva, Isra. Yeah, Canva Dream Lab. Yeah, I can drop you at the end of the session a couple of tools, a couple of free and paid tools that are very fascinating. The most is, of course, Midjourney. This was the state-of-the-art AI like a year and a half ago. This was generative AI of a prompt telling it, give me a video of Jason Smith eating spaghetti. And here you can see how unnatural it is. A year later, and ChatGPT dropped ChatGPT OpenAI Sora. And this is actually the quality of output it produced. If you can see the differences between this video and the previous one, you can see the rapid advancement and the rapid pace of which AI models are being trained and progressed. Yeah, so this is one of my all-time favorite memes. So let's see how AI can be used for educators. Of course, as Noor has been giving you very, very helpful insights about using AI as teachers practically in personalized learning. So it can hear the voice notes and transcribes the voice notes content and actually reply to them. And you actually can train a model using 11 Labs, the tool that she has just shown you, the text-to-speech model. You can actually train it on your own voice. And once you do that, you can reply with voice notes by your own voice without actually putting in that effort at all. So it personalized the experience, not only the learning, but the entire educative experience. It provided automatic grading and automatic assessment creation, of course, as you've seen with Noor as well. And it can provide a bunch of other very cool, very helpful insights, such as classroom management or analytics of the learners. It can analyze different learners and provide a summarizing or a report about each individual student. It also can be used for language translation and content generation. And by content, I mean text content, video, image, audio, you can name it. We can create almost anything now with AI, and we can see, and we're going to see now what we can create with ChatGPT later on. But there comes a term that's called adaptive learning, and I've asked you how many of you know what adaptive learning is, and actually, because of a mistake made by me, only one responded that they know. Adaptive learning, in a nutshell, is adaptive, which is being that it adapts to something or someone. And it's a nutshell, it's your mom giving you this lesson and helping you study. However, it's a robot. It's a mom that will never get bored of you and will never get tired of you and get back to the chores. So this is the coin adaptive learning, and I'm going to skim through it very quickly. So adaptive learning is actually trying to utilize AI in order to personalize fully the learning experience of the students. However, in order for the AI to perfectly know how to adapt this learning experience, we need to first understand who is the student we're talking about. So we need to first understand the background information about the student, demographic, age, gender, unique abilities, as well as their current academic state, their current knowledge, skills, and traits, their proficiencies, what are they good at, what are they not, in order for the model to actually tailor the learning experience for that learner. We can also, or AI can also understand now the personality type and the learning styles of learners through a bunch of tests and a bunch of questions, and accordingly give a summary or give insights on how best to deal with that student or how best to deal with that case. And after understanding who are we adapting to, here comes the question of what can actually adapt in the learning experience. Okay, so move to the corner. I think I should be the one moving to the corner. Is that better, Khairi?
Yes, that's definitely better.
Yeah, all right. I'm so sorry for that. I cannot see what you guys are seeing. Okay, perfect. So what can actually adapt in the learning journey? So of course we can adapt. Some things are essential to adapt and some things are very impractical to adapt. And as you can see here, we can adapt the content, the pace of the content. So we can use AI as a virtual assistant or an agent next to us that aids in the learning experience, that makes the learning faster or slower, the sequence of the learning bits that is being given to the students. We can adapt the entire content. We can also adapt assessments as Noor has demonstrated, the method, the type, the difficulty, and the content of the actual assessment. And we can adapt a bunch of more other stuff during the learning journey of the students. And then this was adaptive learning in a nutshell. So what adapts and who are we adapting to? Next is a term is XR, which is extended realities. And extended realities is a coin framed for any reality other side our real world. So if we're talking about augmented reality, then we're augmenting virtual objects on our real world. Have you ever used IKEA's 3D visualizing tool, for example, or Pokemon Go? Have you seen Pokemon Go, for example? It was an AR game. So it's a game which you open the camera, as you can see here in the picture. You open the camera and you project a virtual object on the real world. However, you are still in the real world. On the other side of the spectrum, you have virtual reality, and that's when you wear this headset and you become completely immersed in the virtual world and isolated from the real world. And of course, mixed reality is a mix of both. So goggles that allows you to see the real and the virtual worlds all together. And these are also actually being implemented now in educations and in educational institutes such as schools. This is AR being implemented, for example, in Egypt, in some books. And this is also virtual reality headsets that being used in virtual reality labs in schools nowadays, because it can save a huge amount of time and effort. It can make you tour Torre Eiffel, as well as the Colosseum, as well as Alhambra Palace, just at the seat of your classroom, and as well as dissect the anatomy in 3D with full manipulation tools and powers for the students to actually dissect the human being life and actually manipulate it in order for them to better understand and comprehend the topic at hand. And virtual reality and extended reality, of course, has amassed a lot of attention and a lot of investments. So this is the expected scenario or the market size of virtual reality or metaverse, the one constructed by Facebook. It's $4.4 trillion. This is the mansion of Snoop Dogg, the virtual mansion of Snoop Dogg that is actually being sold for millions of real world USD now. And of course, there exists education gamification. So gamifying the educational journey through leaderboards, through scores, through badges, all of that, all of the elements, the gamified elements that entices the students to learn more, that provokes actually the learners that are competitive to be the top of their class, as well as the more introverted ones to see how they're progressing with a progress bar, with a score, with a streak. If they're inconsistent and they suffer from inconsistencies, they can a bit clarify or a bit motivate them to keep on the educational journey. So this is the current landscape of education. This is the technology that's being used today. A bit of a high-level overview about AI, generative AI, as Noor has demonstrated, and virtual realities and extended realities and gamification. This is what is happening now, today. It's been happening for years now, and it's happening now, and the progress is moving faster than you think. And the second section is about the future. And it's going to tackle radical concepts and theories. So if you wish to proceed, do so, however, with an open, accepting, challenging, and an imaginative mind. So 50 years ago, these actually pictures are real pictures from comics and newsletters 50 years ago, 1959, for example. They've seen that this should have been the future with flying cars and with robots instead of teachers. Actually, they were right in this. They actually thought of projectors and smart boards way before them being actually implemented. Some of the future predictions are utopian, some are dystopian. However, we're here to tackle the real and the realistic outcomes. So jump again back to Mentimeter and answer this question. Which learning modality or setting would you prefer if you were a student and as a teacher? And if the question yeah, I think this question should allow only one answer. All right, so some of you have answered that they actually prefer the modality of hybrid. All right, so it's 5 to 1 to 1. All right, so most of us agree that the hybrid model is the most effective one, hands-on to touch and smell and feel. All right. I totally believe, Lucinda, in the power of being present, the social impact and the psychological impact of learners being present with one another. It fosters communication, collaborative learning, and actually even the challenging spirit. However, that has been challenged by research over and over and over again. The current research or the current landscape of research show that the growth of homeschooling in the United States is actually exponential. So back in the 70s, there were a lot, very, very minimal amount of people being homeschooled. And now, near the 2020, around 2.3 million students are being homeschooling. And the statistics show that the homeschooling in America, students excel in the social, emotional, and psychological development, surpassing their conventionally school peers. So aside from, or contrary to the popular belief that homeschooling breeds introverted, inexperienced students, actually this defies, the research and the statistics defies all of these theories. So the growth of homeschooling in USA has been exponentially rising, and I'm talking about the USA because it is one of the hotspots of adapting new technologies, and actually that's the only place that I've seen statistics about online. Homeschool students actively engage in various social and educational activities beyond their homes. However, so they can limit the social and psychological development for the club, for community-based endeavors, field trips, community services, sports teams. However, they would be better fitted to be learning at home. Or at least this is the data shows. I don't know what you guys think. Please share with me your thoughts in the chat. Home-educated students typically score 15 to 25 percentile points higher than their public school counterparts on standardized academic achievement tests as well. So on the academic level, they obviously excel because they learn at their own pace, they learn at their own learning style. They focus on the learning experience aside from the other distractions present in the classroom. And then the next question is, who do we have education? Why do we have education certifications in the first place? Why do we go to the school? Why do we want to go to uni or college and have our certificate, our bachelor, our master's degree? Why do we do that? If you can jump right back to the Mentimeter and give me your thoughts, or share your thoughts, of course, in the chat. Right, so some of you are saying that it's to widen the horizons, 5, and 5 also stated as a gateway to opportunities that would otherwise be inaccessible. So this is how us as educators are thinking of education. We love learning and we love teaching and we hope to inspire the students, but actually, do they think the same? Yes, certification is a kind of assessment, and I want to know, why do we actually assess people, and why do we have to take rigorous school curriculums and follow the structure of learning in schools and universities instead of, let's say, taking a diploma on Coursera, for example, for the sake of knowledge, to validate learning? Yeah. These are all, of course, correct and right answers. It's for us to learn. It's for us to validate that we actually learn and know how to do that. And actually, reports show that qualifications required in job adverts. So nowadays, people or employees are less inclined to look at your certification and instead are looking at what you can actually do. What are the skills that you've been taught in the school or on your own? What can you do? What can you produce? And the future is balancing between skill-based learning and knowledge-based learning. Ibrahim is saying that human interaction is essential skill. I mean, if school is to prepare youth for career and life. Of course, but as you've seen in homeschooling endeavors have shown that that the homeschooled students are actually scoring more on the academic level, and on the social and psychological level, they are also very active and very mature as they have developed these skills somewhere other than the school. And hence the debate for whether skill-based learning or knowledge-based learning is more important. Is it important to focus on performing specific tasks such as trade schools or coding schools, programming, or hands-on learning? Or should we emphasize on acquiring facts and learning content and learning how to learning the whys and the theory behind stuff? So this is the debate between skill-based learning and knowledge-based learning. And actually, my perspective about it is the future should really focus on skill-based learning as this is the future. However, we should achieve that fine balance between actually acquiring the knowledge and then applying this knowledge using practical assessment techniques and tasks that would make us understand the theory and then solidify the competency behind this theory. So the learning outcomes are not just acquiring knowledge, but actually knowing how to apply this knowledge on real life situations and problems. Fatma is saying many students in the new generation see the necessary path when they have everything accessible via AI. We need to find the balance and dedicate. Of course, Fatma. That's exactly what I'm trying to say. Very well spoken. And we have to think of how can we balance the usage of AI and how can we empower actually the students to use AI in favor of their learning journey instead of it being a hindrance, instead of AI being just an answering machine so that they can copy and paste your task, write an essay about the Great Pyramids of Giza, for example, and then they just copy and paste it. They get the normal robotic AI-generated content. Maybe the smart of them would change a bit of it. Maybe they would change some structure. However, they all do that, and this is what most of the teachers believe that the future of AI would be. They would hinder the students to actually learning how to write, actually learning how to think of the writing, and they would just use it as an answer machine. But the main problem here lies in how can we actually use AI, generative AI, ChatGPT as the very famous example of AI nowadays. How can we actually use it to empower the students, and how can we teach the students how to use them perfectly? So the next question to you is, how would the future of education institutes look like, given what you see as the current landscape of the educational institutions, and given how the students are actually reacting or interacting currently with AI and what's happening in the world in the last couple of years? What do you see, or how would the future of educational institutions would look like? Do you think they would be completely changed and no more schools would be present? Or do you think, on the other hand, the future is unchanged, slightly modified, or just slightly aided by AI? This is actually one of the most important questions that I want to ask today. What do you think? As you can see, that the leftmost is no change and the rightmost is completely revamping and changing of the institution. All right, so some of the answers. Yeah, so mainly the answers are choosing the middle. Do you think that the real world, I thought that's important, but skill-based learning is more important than knowledge-based learning for the future generations, of course. Number two, incremental changes, some structures with some tech upgrades. we're starting to see the bell shape where answers on both sides are diminishing, and the middle is actually the one gaining more and more answers, mostly online, flexible, tech-driven learning, replacing physical campuses. Actually, I totally believe that the physical campuses would be there for support, for brainstorming sessions, and even that would be replaced in the near future using the metaverse, for example, where classrooms can be completely virtual. So you can attend and brainstorm and collaborate on building something or working on something or thinking of something just on the virtual reality. So I do think that we have to take a moment to take this in, to soak this in, and think about the future of the institutions. Do you think that schools would still be present, and what would be the role of the teachers in that future? If you have anything in mind, write that in the comments as well, in the chat as well. So is that it? Do you think that no more schools will be there? I honestly don't know. And this question is for you to think about and think together in the chat, and we can schedule some other time to think together and bring and see how that future would be shaped. But what I know for sure is that our questions and speculations should be and inevitably be very soon well answered. AI can personalize learning, automate tasks, and provide immediate feedback. It cannot replicate the social, emotional, and cognitive development that happens through human interaction in a school environment. Okay, so a side question. Do you think that teachers can be replaced? What is the element or what is the aspect about teachers that can never be replaced by the machine or by AI, at least the current state of AI? Bearing in mind that AI can produce scripts, it can think of how to deliver the content in the pace and modality best for that student. And then we can take that text and give it to text-to-speech, such as what Noor demonstrated, and it can be very naturally sounding. And use another tool called HeyGen, for example. I'm going to write it down in the chat. And this tool creates human-like avatars lip-syncing the audio. So you can feed it the audio and it can lip-sync that. So you can have a complete virtual teacher for your students. So now, how do you think, or what do you think would be the difference between that and the real world teacher? Changes will be applicable. Teachers will keep on guiding students, human interaction, emotional support, and compassion. Schools and teachers exist and mustn't be removed or replaced, but I guess we can develop the process by letting the teacher. Yeah, that's what I'm asking. I'm not asking about whether or not should they be replaced. I'm talking about how do you see the future in 10 years? So in 10 years, do you think that teachers or the role of a teacher will still be the same as today? In my honest opinion, no, not the same, no. Yeah, no, it will change. In my honest opinion, I think that it will drastically change. It will be completely restructured, and it will be, and the role of a teacher would be a little bit more higher level. It will provide the basic knowledge, and it will provide the feedback and continuous support for the students, especially the emotional needs of the students. At the current state of things, AI is incapable of actually understanding human emotions, and it can respond, but at a certain threshold or at a certain level, it cannot solve problems, solve actual emotional and psychological support that the real teacher can provide, as well as teachers, real world teachers. We have to think on what age or on what level, on what grade should we be using AI, and on what level that the real world physical teacher is more important to be participating in the learning experience. Yeah, I think this is the dystopian side of it. So grade 4 or 5, using such tools like Macmillan Nevio under supervision and guidance, teacher will be the future of education. Teachers give us hugs and they listen. Yeah, Lucienda. You're very passionate, Lucienda, when you're writing in the chat. It's all caps letters. Yeah, no fond memories, no profound memories. I think the future, with full honesty, would be a balance between all of that. So jumping into the dystopia, the challenges and the ethical considerations. So as we dream about these exciting possibilities, adapting adaptive learning methodologies and understanding the learner needs and creating essays and assessment using AI and using AI as our own co-tutors or co-teachers, brainstorming together the learning objectives and how to deliver them best and how to create fun and exciting and collaborative tasks with the students, we jump into. Actually, I want to demonstrate to you right now, before continuing this session, how we can use AI as teachers as well, aside from the insights given by NOUR. So you can jump into ChatGPT if you have the subscription. If you want some free tools, you can also try to use Gemini. Can you see Gemini? Gemini is free to use, and you can also upload images to it and ask questions about these images. I can, for example, upload my picture. I don't have an example ready for you guys, but all right, so no example, but you just can upload just a diagram. So you can see here, for example, quadratic equation picture or diagram, and then images. Copy this image. You can paste it to the free Gemini model, and then ask it as a student. You can foster this skill in the student and ask it, explain this graph to me fully. I do not understand. And it will, in a couple of seconds, break down the entire structure of the graph. It gives you the equation of the graph, what X and Y are, what ABC are, and you can tell it to explain it in much simpler terms for a level. I told it to explain it in much simpler terms for a level equivalent for a grade 7 student. So it gave it an example. Imagine you're throwing a ball in the air, the path it takes, it's the U shape or parabola, and then it starts to explain what's Y, what's X, and what's all of that, and what's given. So Gemini is a very good tool to use. It's free to use, and you can upload images for free. And it actually now has very cool features, such as deep research feature, for example, where it can completely build the research from scratch, researching a lot. So we can tell it, give me a full research about the new AI tools in 2025 that will revolutionize education, for example. And it will create a full-on report using Google search. So as you can see here, you gave it a question, it will think about it for a couple of seconds, and then it gives you a plan. So once you said, I want to report about the AI tools, it came up with this. So give me a full research about AI, find articles, and then find new tools. And for each of those tools in step 2, find information about the features and capabilities, etc. It created a full plan, and you can tell it to start the research. We'll get back to the research once it's done. However, it's researching now websites on Google. You will see now how many websites is being used right now. Or we can get back to this once it's done. NOUR is saying, in my opinion, in the future, we'll be able to teach students how to learn more than what to learn. Exactly, NOUR. This is exactly spot on. So far, Deep Research has researched 26 websites and still counting. And until it does, I'm going to show you something else. On ChatGPT, you can have something that is called custom GPT. So the custom GPTs in here that you can use, plug and play, or create your own is the ChatGPT, however, with some tailored examples on how it would be working. So let's see. Let's explore GPTs, for example. These are GPTs or AI models created for some educative use cases. So we can have this universal primer, the fastest way to learn anything hard. So we can try to use it. It can upload images, how it works. Let's start a chat with it and tell it, I want to learn and perfect my Spanish. I have no clue about Spanish, for example. And then it will craft a comprehensive guide or steps to actually understand the Spanish alphabet, starting by the Spanish alphabet, explaining how each letter is being pronounced and all of that. It's just the same way as ChatGPT. It is ChatGPT. However, it's just fine-tuned to how to respond perfect for the students. So if you gave this exact prompt to ChatGPT, normally it wouldn't give such structured answer. But getting back to the research at hand, and the research is already researching about 81 websites and still counting. So yeah, what do you think is the future of education would look like? To be better to ourselves and others and the world around us. Exactly. So exactly as you're all saying, AI would be used to actually teach the students how to learn on their own, how to use the fragmented landscape of tech into how to learn, guide them in what to learn actually, and how to use the current capabilities to learn what you have to learn to harness or gain experience and foster their competencies in a methodological way, for example. Of course, we've had this first, so I'm going to present to you some dystopian worlds used or being thought of because of AI and the AI boom that's been happening for 2 years now. The first of all is The Matrix. If you've seen The Matrix or Age of Ultron, these movies are talking about a dystopian futures, about robots actually taking over the entire planet. I don't think this would be this is the first dystopian future that we can think of, but I don't think, of course, that this is actually would happen in the real world. The second thing is actually the real world replacing us as teachers, as employees, as programmers, as developers, replacing us completely. Do you think that this will happen, that AI and AI agents, which is the term of the year in 2025, for example, yeah, Terminator 2 is actually a great movie. Do you think that AI at the end of the day would completely replace us? As the video shown by Noor in the previous session demonstrated, the CEO of NVIDIA is talking about AI on its own will never change the landscape and will never make you get out of work, will never replace you. But people empowered by that tool or these tools would definitely replace you. We have to change our mindset and we have to change the way we think of education in order for us to actually enhance the learning experiences of the students. Socrates, the famous Socratic Socrates, the philosopher, he was skeptic about writing and the act of writing itself, and he was very much against writing because he believed that it would diminish the capabilities of the mind, not actually memorizing content, but writing it down and relying on a pen and paper. And then later on, people also attacked the usage of calculators, and for years they have resisted the usage of calculators until proven that we can implement it and make it augment our learning experiences. And the same thing would definitely go for AI. We should think of AI as a tool to augment the learning experience and to empower the students to learn much better and much faster than how we learned at our days. Yeah, I think that we see smart students being creative with AI. I see students in their high school being entrepreneurs, creating programs, creating stuff that we could never have dreamt of creating on our own using AI, because AI empowers them to even think. They now think that everything is possible and feasible within their hands. They can think with AI how to build something at home, and then they actually go on and build it, and they can keep on taking photos of their progress and upload it and then ask for the next step, and it will completely empower them to do anything that they put their minds into. So really their imagination would be the limit. Fostering love is the foundation of teaching children, of course, and fostering love starts at home and continues at school. But is fostering love only applicable with teachers and at schools, or can it be replicated or demonstrated elsewhere? That's the question. Yes, right. That's why definitely you need human feelings. However, this social aspect or the social element, should it be implemented within the school, or can we just completely change the dynamic and make it happen at home or at the social events? Of course, all of your answers are very much correct. The next challenge, of course, to the rising usage of technology, especially AI and virtual reality, is the dopamine frying of the brain, especially in the younger ages. It creates children that are more erratic, that are more attached to the quick stimulus of videos and reels and TikToks. It's actually very damaging to the reward system in their brains, and this is a really important challenge that we have to think of how to enable our students using technology and at the same time do not harm them psychologically and or mentally. So this is the other. I can see that you still are debating. You're still debating in the chat about replacing teachers, and this is actually the topic that I want to keep on discussing with you after the session is over. Because actually me as an educator and all of you as educators, we need to think of a way how to augment the teaching experience instead and empower both us and the students to use AI in our advantage. To be the case, nothing can replace teachers, but support teachers and making learning more interesting. I agree with you. I agree with you, and making the learning more interactive and enjoyable as well. So gamifying the learning journey as well as being immersive in that journey and supporting to the roles and duties of a teacher, of course. And one of the final challenges in AI, and I want you to think of this, forget about replacing teachers and think of this for a moment. As I've told you in the beginning of the session, I told you that AI is being built by training an AI model, and by training an AI model that it has been fed millions and actually billions and trillions of text and of images and of videos, and that's how it learns how to understand and how to respond. So what if all of our content, for example, most of the content online found online is in what language? It is in English. And let's talk about privacy and use of AI later on. Let's talk about AI bias for a moment. Almost all of the content or a huge amount or a huge percentage of the content found online, which is the content used to train AI models, is in English. And some political and religious opinions might be more intensively written about and mentioned more than the other. So once the AI model is fed all of that, this begins the creep of AI bias. So AI bias emerges when algorithms produce skewed results due to prejudiced data inputs. So if you give it, for example, 10 articles supporting a certain sports club, let's say Liverpool, and 2 only supporting Manchester United, then almost the results would all be skewed to the articles or what it has understood from the articles supporting and supporting the one fan base over the other. This can be drastically change. This is a very, very important ethical consideration that we have to take into consideration. So we have to consider how can we use AI without it actually being biased and without it actually being producing false results. Yes, Monia, this is actually your own writing at 80% AI production. Actually, the AI detectors are running on algorithms that detects certain patterns in the text, and if you were proficient enough or write in a certain way, in a certain structure, it will falsely believe that you're AI. So this is the problem with AI bias, and I think you can imagine how this problem can foster and can be a bit of a huge problem if we do not solve it immediately. So because if media controls the narrative, imagine the AI tutor that's being brain feeding your kids since birth is biased. Education controls the actual thought or the actual process of thinking of people. And this can be very much challenging and a very important consideration to take into. And of course, privacy and the use of data, because data privacy is paramount in educational technology, and having tools or having softwares or companies that know all about us, knowing a comprehensive learner profile or a profile about me as a learner, about how I respond, how erratic I am, my personality traits, my behavior. It's a bit of scary, again, I guess, giving this amount of data and giving all of these insights about myself to people. Yes, of course, not all of the info on it is correct. It's scary, yeah. And of course, the last challenge is the digital divide and how we can actually guarantee that we bridge the gap between the demographics and the areas and make the technology of AI, for example, and the empowerment, the AI education empowerment reach everyone. So one of the last questions in the session is, how can AI empower students to learn effectively and build skills rather than just solving problems? If you can jump very quickly and give me your insights about it as well, here, let me know what you think. Let me know what you think. How can AI empower students to learn effectively and build skills rather than just solving problems and answer questions for them? How can AI be used by the teachers to empower the students? So an incident occurred while you answer. Of course, take your time answering this. And you can answer in the chat box, of course, as well. We've been talking about AI never replacing teachers, but now we're discussing how it can actually help the students learn and build their skills rather than making their minds and thinking process obsolete. Actually, Monia, when you pay money to humanize your writing, it does not make it any much more human than it actually is. Of course, AI can empower it. Some answers are getting poured in now. As you're answering this question, I want to show you what Gemini actually produced for us. So this is what Gemini produced for us. This is the research that we've asked. It looked through how many pages? It looked through 81 websites and created this comprehensive report that we can open in Google Docs. And this comprehensive report is talking about the impact of AI in education with statistics and citations for each sentence that's being researched. So this is the reference of this paragraph. These are the references of this paragraph, as well as each preceding paragraph and the supporting references. And then the AI tools for revolutionizing education 2025, it's Lumen 5, Illuminate, and other examples. I'm not here to promote a certain tool. I'm just saying that Gemini, for example, and the deep research can make research for students and for workers much easier. Of course, it's upon them to validate the data, but it's mostly correct. So this is the research, and this is the research in Google Docs, and you can further enhance it using AI. So getting back to the question proposed, how can AI empower students to learn effectively and build skills? Maybe the students can... Of course. However, AI is getting more and more better each day, and the benchmarks of them answering SATs and answering actually law or a certain benchmarks in math and science and law and economics is getting much more and more better each and every day. They're matching the levels and capabilities of a PhD candidate right now. Yes, Lucienda, I totally agree with you. Since that AI is the future, we have to guide the kids to have a balanced life. However, I'm now talking about how can AI make them think better and make them gain a more equipped skill set instead of just relying on it to produce the results? Because at the end of the day, we will reach a certain bottleneck where creativity would be killed and brainstorming or thinking would be killed, and instead utilizing heavily and only on AI. Yes, Riham, and that will be an endless cycle, using AI to analyze the answers of AI, and it can keep on going and going. But do they actually learn once they do that? So if they use the AI to critique the product of another AI or an output of another AI, do they actually learn? Is it actually informative? And does it build their skills? I'm going to leave you with this question for a while and jump back right into, I'm sorry, present. And jump back right into the presentation, because I think our time is narrow now. And yeah, it's been very, very, very collaborative projects to use this info and skills to solve problems and innovate. Actually, very, 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 very much, Nathan, yeah. They should be working on collaborative projects to use this info and skills. So a real use case that happened to me is while teaching programming one course at the university. There was this in-lab assignment where we were questioning students about writing a code to solve a certain problem. And of course, our main goal is for us to make them better coders and better and make them understand better how to write the code and how to structure their code and do it correctly and think correctly. And instead, they used ChatGPT. They used their mobile phones. They took a screenshot of the question, sent it to ChatGPT, and told it to send in the code. They got the code, and then they just submitted, and all got a 10 out of 10. I was honestly not furious. I was honestly not even proud. I wouldn't say proud. I was puzzled by, all right, so do I have to resist this? Do I have to resist this change? Do I have to put in more and more measures to prevent students from cheating? Or do I have to adapt the way I'm teaching and the methodology and the learning outcomes of teaching, instead of memorizing how to actually spell this certain function and spell this certain sentence or word, or else the code will not work, into something more holistic, something more higher level, critical thinking. So instead, I've pitched this idea to the president of the university, and we've changed the course completely. We adapted the course exactly, Rawa. I hope I've spelled the name correctly. We've completely revamped the course, and instead of it just being about knowing how to write, it became a much bigger course. And the project became much, much bigger because AI cannot understand or cannot build complete projects from single prompts. So they now have to actually read, distill information, and understand what is required from them in that project, and then use AI. We actually gave them tutorials about how to use AI, how to prompt engineer, how to use it effectively, use AI, and then answer and solve this project. And they actually afterwards they would be assessed about what they understand about the code, why they chose this approach aside other than another approach. And we started questioning and assessing them about the theory or the reasoning behind their choices, instead of how did they write this certain code. Because AI will replace AI is going to make writing code obsolete. However, it will not make coders or programmers obsolete. That's what I'm trying to say. So it will make, such as the calculators, we don't know how to make 4-digit multiplications on our own. And even if we do know how to do that, it's very time consuming. And this is not the gist of it. We want to get over this step, to actually learn the bigger picture of the calculation and reach the end result of the calculation. So I think that can be the case as well. Yeah, or internship type. So that was the question. The final question is that if you were a policymaker which forward-thinking policies you will try to implement to promote beneficial outcomes while mitigating risks. So in the end, if you are a policymaker, if you are the Minister of Education in your country, how do you think, or what is the policy do you want to be applied on your country or on your educational system to actually promote forward-thinking policies and promote forward thinking? Thank you so much, guys. I'm not ending. I'm waiting for your responses. But while you're responding, thank you so much for your proactivity in the chat. I'm actually finding a lot, and I'm missing a lot of your comments and a lot of your insights. They're very helpful and they're very productive. Actually, I actually expected some more resistance from you guys about AI and how it can, or would it actually make teachers obsolete or not? Thank you so much for your time, and I'll leave you with this final question to answer about if you're a policymaker, you would cancel assessments. All right, that's very blunt and very radical policy to make. But yeah, I'll leave you with this question and I'll leave Nathan to you. Thank you so much for this.
No, thank you. And I'm coming back in. I mean, the chat box is suddenly frozen because everybody's minds, I am imagining, is like swimming with all of this.
Yeah.
Like, I mean, for me, like the best webinars are the ones that just drive and inspire that kind of passion. And this chat box, I mean, you can just see, like you said, you can't keep up with it. There's so many comments. Like people are so passionate about, because it is very polarizing. You know, at the beginning, it was very much, you know, positive, you know, and we can use all of these tools to enhance learning and make it personalized. And then by the time we get to the end, we're talking about kind of politics and economics and influences on educational systems, and you know, a lot of this AI conversation for me comes down to this element of trust, right? You know, we think about data, but now 2025, we're not necessarily giving data. They're taking it. They just take it from us, you know, in all sorts of different ways that we don't even know. You know, they're taking information from me through my phone when I'm not even using it. So
yes,
all of these ethical implications are so interesting to think about. This, as you said at the beginning, this high level discussion, and then you could see people kind of pouring their ideas in. You know, it's not just about knowledge, and now it's not even, for me, it's not even just about skills. You know, because that is very much about capitalism and creating knowledge economies and skills for jobs and labor. And who's that controlled by? Is that controlled by tech companies? Is that controlled by governments? Who's making what decisions? How are we influenced by that? How do schools fit into those systems? So it's super interesting. I mean, for me, I think I really like the people who are talking very much about the human connection.
I'm really happy with Lucienda and her passion in the chat box as well.
So much. She's all this stuff around creativity. I mean, I've got so many notes. I've lost track of my own notes here. But we were saying about Socrates, and I think about things like VR and AR. I think they're amazing tools, but do they stimulate imagination or do they stifle imagination? Yeah, like, I mean, you go back and you think about the power of reading and reading novels, reading books, and developing that imagination, stepping into a world that you haven't actually seen, and how language and culture and imagination are all connected. That's a big part of learning, of figuring out who we are. And just being able to just walk around in the Colosseum and learn some facts, it's amazing, but does it strip that away? Does it? And this has been a conversation, I guess, around media, right? The development of film, science fiction. Has it made us more imaginative, or are we less imaginative because we're being fed what we think is imagination, but we're being fed those images, fed those ideas? I mean,
programmed.
You can see like all of these people are still like massive comments coming in. It's such an interesting topic, really. So thank you so much for just leading us through. You are like the kind of Pied Piper
I
of
just tried to,
AI, just like
yeah,
guiding us through and making us think, and that's such an important part.
thank you. Thank you. I've tried as much as I could to just open up a lot of discussion points, not ending them and jumping straight to the next one. And some of the people on the chat, they couldn't move on. They just wanted to debate a certain topic over and over. And that's what I really liked about the topic. I just wanted to move on from one consideration to the other, one future prediction to the other, and what do you think would be the case in the future? Because we shape the future by what we do now. So our actions now are actually what will build the the future. And if we do nothing now, I think that, as the video have demonstrated, the CEO of NVIDIA, of course, we need to cope with the ever-changing world that we're living in, and it's changing much faster than we can could have ever comprehended back in the day. So we have to use what we have to empower us and try to shape the future. If we're worried about the ethical consideration and privacy and the AI bias, we should actually be working on raising awareness. We should be working on policy creation and policy brainstorming. We should actually be working on all of these considerations in order to tackle the challenges, because the future seems very bright. However, with every new let's say aspect, or every bright aspect, there of course have the downsides, and we have to consider those downsides as well.
Yeah, and that, I guess, is the importance of the community aspect, right? Is not trying to do things by yourself, but creating these communities of change and influence, whether that's influencing policymakers, whether that's influencing parents, students, whoever it is, working together, coming to a consensus, I guess, and deciding how we educators want to use these things with our students in schools in ethical ways, in responsible ways, building trust and keeping that human element, the well-being element, the creative element, the imaginative element, bringing all of that together. Yeah, it's amazing, and it's such a thought-provoking topic. Thank you so much.
Thank you, Nathan. Thank you, Nathan, for the opportunity.
I can see a flood of hearts and claps. Of course, for Nour as well, before in the first session, 2 absolutely fascinating sessions for our opening webinar. Yeah, can I just ask if you can stop screen sharing, and I will just
definitely
finalize mine. No, it's okay. Well, I'll try to collect some of these from you as well, so I can.
I have the long text answers in the Mentimeter, so I can send them to you as well, about the policies and about the future of education.
Yeah, perfect. Okay, good. So
thank you, guys.
Thank you, everybody, for staying. We overran by a little bit, but hopefully, I think people found it so interesting that I'm sure that they were happy to stay a little longer. If not, the recording will be made available next week. Certificates will also go out next week. Don't forget about the Global Teachers Festival, which is in February. Go to macmillanenglish.com and you can register for the festival there. I will be reminding people again tomorrow, of course. And that's it. So tomorrow, we'll see you for our second day of the winter webinars. Tomorrow, we are welcoming Bara Shalabi, who's joining us to talk about engagement in the English language classroom. And then Mohammed Nabil is going to be joining us to talk about empowering teachers, talking about teacher agency and how to develop that and how to work collectively on that with your institution, so you can be best supported to make these things happen, because we are not isolated units. We are part of a wider teaching community. So agency is massively important. And he's going to be looking at how we can develop that area.